but basically we should consider friction is a force that opposes the tendency of relative motion or separation. For example, we can talk about many such cases. Suppose this is a fixed surface, rough surface, right? So being it is a fixed rough surface, so if any object of mass m, whenever is observed to having motion in the rightward direction, so then quite obvious friction force that will act at the bottom of that surface by the fixed surface with an approach of mu n. Mu n will be the expression of friction force, where weight of the body on the surface is mg and by the surface on the body is acting on reaction force. So mu stands for coefficient of friction between the surface of contact of the two bodies. So based on coefficient of friction into normal contact force, where n is the normal contact force. Okay, if we discuss a case where suppose on a fixed surface, if we see one block and above m1 there is one more block, let it be m2, right? This time if we consider this surface is a rough surface between m1 and m2, for example, right? And here if we this time being m1 observed to be having motion, right, under acceleration a, for example, motion with acceleration of a meter per second square. So whenever we will see that m1 is moving rightward with an acceleration of a meter per second square, correspondingly the m2 which is in contact with m1 will experience pseudo force in the backward direction, because we have studied this thing in the previous chapter, that whenever one mass will observe itself is in contact with an accelerated moving body, whenever one mass, like here it is m2, is observed itself is in contact with another moving body m1 which is having acceleration, then m2 will experience the pseudo force m2a in the backward direction, right? This pseudo force will be acting on m2 in the backward direction, and with respect to m1 will feel as if m2 is tending to go backward or leftward, right? But basically m2 is holding its unmoved position. As I said that by pseudo force no body changes its absolute inertial position, m2 holding itself with the pseudo force at that point, and m1 is trying to move rightward. So that's the relative motion appears between m1 and m2. So because of this relative motion, it is the frictional force that will act on m2 with the value of mu into some contact force, let it be n2, provided if m2 is having its weight acting m2g downward, then on the lower surface of m2, let it be the normal contact force experienced by m2 is n2. So n2 is m2g that we can write down.